What's up, guys? Today we are starting the ultimate marathon. How did a collection of warring tribes become a global superpower? It started with a crisis. In the year 862, the lands of the Ilmen Slavs were a mess. Tribes like the Chuds and Krivichs were tired of paying tribute to the Vikings, but when they kicked them out, they realized they couldn't stop fighting each other. The land was rich, but the order was non-existent. They needed a king who wasn't one of them. A great council was called. They decided to send a message across the sea to the Varangians, the Norsemen. They didn't want a master. They wanted a judge. They sent a delegation with a legendary message. Our land is great and rich, but there is no order in it. Come then and rule over us. They weren't looking for just any Viking. They were looking for Rurik. Rurik didn't come alone. He brought his brothers, Sineus and Truvor. This was a family business. They arrived in 862 with their Drugina, an elite band of warriors. Rurik settled in Ladoga first, the gateway to the north. His brothers went to the edges, Sineus to below zero, and Truvor to Izborsk. They were setting up a triangle of power that would secure the entire region. Rurik quickly moved from Ladoga to Novgorod, the new city. This wasn't just a camp, it was a statement. He began building the Rurikovo Gorodishche. This was the first administrative hub of what we now call Rus. While the tribes were skeptical, Rurik provided something they hadn't seen in generations: a centralized law and a heavy hand to enforce it. By 864, the integration began. The Varangians weren't just occupiers, they were becoming the elite. Slavic warriors began joining Rurik's guard. They shared food, tactics, and eventually language. The Rus name, originally referring to the Norse rowers, began to describe the entire land. The foundation of a new ethnic identity was being laid right here in the mud of Novgorod. In the north and west, Rurik's brothers were busy. Sineus was securing the silver route near the White Lake, while Truvor held the western frontier against Baltic tribes. Between 862 and 864, they built a network of forts. This was the first time the Eastern European plains had a synchronized defense system. No one could enter without the Rurikovichs knowing. But then, in 864, disaster struck the dynasty. Both Sineus and Truvor died within the same year. The chronicles are silent on the cause. Was it disease? Was it battle? We don't know. But suddenly, Rurik was the sole ruler of the entire north. Instead of collapsing, he moved to consolidate. He took over the lands and appointed his own governors, centralizing the power in his hands alone. Not everyone was happy with the Viking autocracy. Around 865, a legendary figure named Vadim the Bold led a revolt in Novgorod. He wanted the old freedom of the tribes back. It was the first real test of Rurik's military might. The streets of the new city saw their first civil war. Rurik's response was swift and brutal. He executed Vadim and his followers, proving that the new order was here to stay. With the rebellion crushed, the final years of this 5-year period were spent on expansion. Rurik began sending his men further down the rivers to collect tribute. This wasn't just taking money, it was creating a census. It was identifying who lived where, and what they could provide. The wealth of the forests, furs, honey, and wax, began flowing into his treasuries. By 867, Rurik had done the impossible. He had turned a chaotic borderland into a functioning proto-state. But even as he sat in Novgorod, two of his captains, Askold and Dir, were asking permission to go even further south, toward the great city of the Greeks. The seeds of the empire were planted. Tomorrow, we'll see how the next 5 years changed everything. Subscribe and join the journey.